Before I get started with today's Straight Talk Tuesday, I am Julie Withrow, by the way, with How Smart Women Succeed, and this is Straight Talk Tuesday, where I talk about the strategy piece of growing a six-figure business. Before I get into that, though, this week has been difficult for a lot of us. The news that came out of Las Vegas yesterday morning was so, it was so depressing to me. I had a hard time yesterday, staying focused on the work I needed to do, and I have a ton of work to do coming up on this free challenge that I'm running. And, I just decided to take some space to just sort of, feel what I needed to feel about that. And I hope that all of you did the same or will do the same. So I just want to acknowledge that that happened, and it's horrible. And we all have a lot of feelings about it that we need to process. But I also know that we also have to move on with our lives, and we can't just live in fear. And so we have to keep moving. We have to keep taking one step at a time. So with that, I'm going to get started with today's Straight Talk Tuesday. So I wanted to talk about marketing your business today. And whether you have a service-based business or a product-based business, first and foremost, the importance of having a website. Now, I know this may seem elementary, but you'd be surprised how many businesses don't have websites because they figure they don't really need one because it doesn't really fit their business model. Maybe they're not selling products online, so they don't know why they need a website. But quickly, the reason why you need a website is because nowadays, people have such easy access to research the companies that they're interested in working with, the products that they're interested in buying, the services that they're interested in buying. So having a website is kind of your 24/7, always open storefront to talk about what it is that you do, what it is that you provide or sell, and give people who are interested in you or looking for something like what you do, giving them an opportunity to find you on their own, because that's how people want to shop and make decisions nowadays, whether they're shopping for high-end services, coaching, health services, whether they're shopping for products. It doesn't matter, right? People want to be able to do the research first because there are so many opportunities to do that, they just sort of expect it. So you want to have a website. Now, how do you leverage that website? I work with women who have service-based businesses and product-based businesses, and there's a lot of talk about content strategy. So that is one of the ways you leverage your website. First and foremost, you have to drive people to your website. You can't just rely on organic traffic. Unless you are paying big bucks for Google ads and search terms and stuff like that, you really have to drive people there yourself. So make sure that you mention your website everywhere and all the time. Always, and not just mention it, but people need to be told what to do. People want to be told what to do. So tell people to visit your website to learn about you, or visit your website to read your latest blog, whatever that might be. So with regard to blog, that is all part of the content strategy piece that I wanted to talk about. And I know a lot of people struggle with content and keeping up with content, being consistent with it, maybe even really understanding what it is, okay? So content, it's actually one of those terms where if you're somebody who's been in marketing for years like I have, it's like this buzz thing. It used to just be called marketing, but now there's a lot of focus on content. And it kind of makes sense because people have access to more content and information than they ever have before via the web, right? So your content strategy is really about you consistently putting in front of your prospects and customers, meaningful information, valuable information that positions you in the right light with them. And so I want to stress the importance of content being meaningful and valuable to the people who you serve. I think sometimes in the quest to create strategy, we get sloppy that way. We aren't necessarily creating valuable or meaningful content. We're just putting it out there to put it out there. And I see this happen a lot in businesses, large and small. And I won't mention any names, but just trust me on that. I see it a lot. There's, once you get into the mode of content, there is this pressure to continuously put it out there. And so that can start to get kind of sloppy. Maybe you're not putting the best content out there. So first and foremost, I want to stress that it be good content. Yes, you want one to be consistent about it, because people need to see you consistently for your messages to land and for them to build up, an awareness of you, and an understanding of what it is that you do. But do not sacrifice value over consistency, right? Make sure you have valuable stuff. And then you do need to commit to some consistency. But also, there is no consistency you must maintain. Are there best practices? Are there recommendations? Yes. Like, I would recommend that you need to be in front of your audience at least once per month, right? And ideally more frequently than that. But you have to commit to the frequency and the consistency that works for you first and foremost, and that allows you to create the content that you know is valuable and meaningful. So I'll repeat that. First and foremost, right, you need to commit to the frequency of delivering content that works for you, that you can maintain, and that is sustainable, okay? And that allows you to deliver valuable content, not just put it out there, to stay with your schedule. Hi, Julie. I'm glad you're here. I'm talking about marketing today. So Julie knows a lot about marketing. So maybe she'll have something down in the comments. So feel free to do that, Julie, if you want to chime in. So I'm just talking about the importance of having not just a content strategy, but a content strategy that focuses on delivering valuable content, not just putting content out there to do so. So when you're thinking about your content strategy and you start to have a sense of what that valuable content looks like, you really want to schedule or at least plan a bunch of content in advance. Now, you don't have to write everything. You don't have to produce it all. But you need to have a plan. And the reason you do is because otherwise, this is where it becomes very hard to remain consistent. You don't want to be scrambling, every week or every 2 weeks or every month, however frequently you're talking with your audience. You don't want to be scrambling at the last minute to come up with ideas and produce content. You want to have a runway, you want to build some content ideas up so that you have them at the ready, so that when inevitably life occurs, and your kid gets sick, or you get sick, or you have a new big opportunity come up in your business and you don't have time to focus on content, you want to have some content backlog that you can tap into, or certainly some ideas that you can generate quickly to create the content you need. So I want to encourage everybody who's formulating a content strategy to do that, okay? And if at all possible, have like 3 or 4 pieces of content in the can already that are written, that are ready to go. So that, and I would keep those in backlog, not necessarily use them up right away, but keep them for those times where you need it, right? Because otherwise it is hard to remain consistent. So another thing about content, so that may seem kind of overwhelming, right? Like, I need to have all this different content, and that's exactly why I don't do content strategy. The other thing is, you can repurpose your content way more than you may think. It's actually surprisingly simple to take one good content idea, right, and slice and dice it several different ways. So if you have one good idea, like let's say today I'm talking about content strategy, right? And that's my idea. I'm like, okay, I think that people struggle with marketing their business, and particularly with content strategy, because they feel a lot of pressure to produce content. So, I could do that a bunch of different ways. Like, I could focus purely on a social media component of it. I could focus on the blog piece of it. I could focus on creating what a calendar might look like. I could make a download that's like, 10 quick and easy ways to come up with content ideas, like a brainstorming piece. I could talk about email strategy as part of content. There's so many different ways I could take it, right? So as you do have content ideas, I want to encourage you to drill down and chunk them down even further. how can I take this one idea that I have and turn it into, 4 or 5 different pieces of content? Because the truth is, people respond better to bite-sized content, particularly initially, and particularly in specific media. And I won't get into all the details about that. But our tendency is to want to over-explain and over-deliver content, and probably comes a little bit from a place of insecurity of wanting to overstate our value, right? But in doing that, we give people too much content for them to digest, right? Things are moving fast. Their attention is short. So give them short, digestible content first and foremost. And there is a time and place to give them deeper content where they have to go deeper with you. But particularly when you're starting a content strategy, if you can give people quick hits, quick things that they learned that feel like a win for them, that is a great way to get started. So it doesn't have to be these like big, deep, lengthy content pieces. They can be very quick hit things that give people, an easy win. And it's a great way to get started. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and again, I'm delivering a lot of content to you today, so I want to be cognizant of that. I don't want to overwhelm. But yeah, I would just want to go back and reiterate, some of the key points, right? First and foremost, everybody should have a website. Why? Because people have the ability to research the companies that they're interested in doing business with beforehand, and everybody wants to do it. So make sure you make yourself findable for people who may be interested in you or the types of things that you do, okay? You cannot rely on, just organic SEO for people to find you. So make sure that you have a website, and make sure you are telling people to visit it on everything that you do. Always reminding people to visit your website. A great way to do that is in your content. So, whether that's a blog, that you're doing, make sure that you're, having people always going back to your website where they can learn about you. And then make sure you're very consistent with your content is another takeaway I want to give you. And just, really making it clear that it doesn't have to be this overwhelming thing. As I said before, first and foremost, commit to a schedule for producing content that works for you. You have to be realistic about that first. And you can certainly push yourself a little bit that way, and we probably all could do a better job of that. But just be realistic first and foremost so that you can have the consistency you need, okay? Whether that's monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, whatever works for you. Make sure you're creating the schedule that you can maintain so you can feel successful and be consistent. And then secondly, make sure that you have some content ideas coming into getting started, so you have a backlog of things that you can tap into when things get busy, or when you don't have the time to create original content on the fly. Make sure that you have some stuff in your backlog that you can go to. And it doesn't have to be that hard. It doesn't have that hard for that content to be created. If you take each content idea and chunk it down, you can probably come up with at least 4 or 5 different content ideas. In fact, I want to give you an actionable for today, and that's the actionable that I want you to take away is, if you don't have any content ideas generated yet, I want you to sit down and come up with 5 content things that you could share with your clients and prospects that is meaningful information that's valuable to them, that you have the expertise to deliver, and that positions you in the way you want to be positioned with them. And then I want you to take one of those content pieces, and if you already have a bunch, you can just skip to this step, take one of those content ideas and see how far you can slice and dice it. How many other content pieces could you create from that one idea? And then you'll start to see that content strategy does not have to be that hard. It does not have to be that overwhelming. And really everybody can do it, and everybody should be doing it, because you do want to be consistently putting yourself out there in front of your prospects as well as your clients.